Entry-level handler responsibilities. About daycare. Daycare is the most important job in this business and core to our mission. It's easy to hang out in daycare, but challenging to work effectively. The better you understand dog language and the more you follow the techniques in your training, the better you will do as a daycare handler. It's pretty easy to run an effective daycare pack when you follow protocol. When fights happen under your watch, it could very well be because you're not following that protocol. You will also be much less stressed in daycare if you know how to handle dogs properly. Prevention. The best way to keep daycare a safe place to work is to prevent hazardous situations from occurring in the first place. Because working with animals can be a dangerous job, paying attention is the best thing you can do to keep accidents from happening. Awareness. Accidents happen when people are careless. If you are aware of your surroundings and the situations at hand, you are more likely to be able to stop problems from happening. Listen and look, and please leave your headphones at home. Your body language. Be aware of your body language in a dangerous situation. Always think of what your body language communicates to the dogs before you act. Order of operations. Your job comes with priorities of different weight. Priority 1. Your primary job is to monitor, discipline, and control your pack of dogs in order to enable a safe environment and prevent incidents from occurring, and communicate in a timely manner when they do. Priority 2. Your secondary job is to interact and play games with the dogs. Dogs should be involved in play and games during daycare. You should be doing everything you can to make daycare a fun experience that dogs love. Priority 3. Lastly, you must keep your playroom clean and sanitary at all times. Acclimating to your daycare room. When you enter into daycare, the dogs will be happy to see you and are sure to get excited. Move into the playroom by first ignoring the dogs completely. Let the preceding handler control them while you do a few laps around the perimeter of the room. Once the dogs seem to calm down, then acknowledge the dogs and begin your transition into lead handler by identifying problem dogs and gathering intel from your predecessor. Maintain a handler overlap at shift change. It's important that you spend 5 to 10 minutes in transition to make sure you communicate with your predecessor. Upon leaving, he or she should get you a new water bowl, fresh mop, and mop bucket. Establish your role as pack leader. If you only discipline sometimes, the dogs will learn that they will only get in trouble sometimes. You should make sure you're not putting up with bad behavior. Do not ever move for a dog that is being a bully. Walk through the dog and retain eye contact to maintain your dominant role. The dog will move out of your way. If you break eye contact first, the dog may not respect you as an alpha. To dogs, eye contact is a challenge, while looking away signifies submission or respect. Don't talk much to dogs unless you're trying to communicate with them for specific reasons. Yelling is completely ineffective and will frustrate you and scare the dogs. Wellness check. Throughout the day, you will be prompted by the front desk to complete a wellness check of all the dogs in your care during your shift. This will help you to focus in on each dog and any issues they might have, as well as help you learn the names of your particular pack for that day. The importance of timely discipline. You are in charge of making sure dogs do not become hurt in daycare. If you do not discipline dogs at the right time, when the act occurs or escalates, those dogs will soon learn that they can disobey you. By being caring yet strict with the dogs, you become the leader of the pack and help establish what dogs can and cannot get away with. And you set a precedent from whichever handler relieves you from your shift. Dog warnings. In dogs, lower-level behaviors such as snarling or growling in any situation are warnings. Don't punish a dog for giving warnings, or the dog may stop giving warnings altogether and move directly to a more aggressive behavior, like biting. Dogs prefer to solve issues without biting, so if the communication between dogs works, you need not intervene. If anything, redirect or distract the dogs involved and praise any dog that heeds another dog's warning. Unacceptable dog behaviors in daycare. Certain behaviors in daycare are never acceptable. There is just too much going on in daycare to allow risky behavior to happen. Some of these behaviors are as follows. Stalking. Sometimes stalking can be fun, playful behavior in dogs, but it is never allowed in daycare. Stalking behavior is too risky and, if allowed, can lead to dire consequences. Commonly, dogs that have a tendency to stalk are more likely to pick on dogs of smaller size. Despite the fact that small dogs do look and smell like dogs, their size can put them into prey status and bring out prey drive in larger dogs. Even worse, small dogs tend to react to the stalking treatment with prey-like responses. They're much less likely to stand their ground and more likely to scream like prey and run off to try to escape. This reaction only enhances the prey drive and may be rather noisy as well. Stare downs. Staring is rude. The problem for dogs is that few owners teach their dogs this lesson, and it leads to a multitude of problems from leash aggression to jumping. To resolve the issue of stare downs in daycare, you need to change the dog's focus. Some forms of staring perceived as dog aggression may actually be panic, and the stare bark response may actually be in self-defense. Walking between dogs to break eye contact typically is enough to distract and redirect the dog. Guarding. Resource guarding refers to a dog displaying behavior such as growling, snapping, etc., intended to convince other dogs or humans to stay away from a particular treasure or resource. The resource can be food, treats, toys, a place like a bed or favorite chair, or occasionally a person. Resource guarding can be a serious problem if a dog threatens to bite humans or dogs when they try to take something away. Dogs must be willing to give up things they would rather keep. You can try to work on resource guarding with dogs who display minor signs, such as trading for an item of greater value, such as your affection. However, the dog gets to decide what's valuable. No and drop it can be helpful verbal tools as well, but it relies on the owner to have trained their dog on these commands. Some dogs will have to be banned from daycare because of the aggression associated with the tendency to guard. Make sure you let manager know when a dog is displaying guarding behavior. Mounting. Reproduction aside, the most common cause of mounting behavior is a response to stress, anxiety, and/or excitement. In this case, eliminating the source of that stress is key to stopping this behavior. Like many canine behaviors that we humans find annoying or even embarrassing, mounting is a perfectly normal behavior for a dog. Because of the perception of our customers, however, and the negative responses that dogs could exhibit, this behavior cannot be allowed in daycare. If a dog aggravates another dog in daycare, correct the behavior and limit his social engagement until the behavior is under control. If the dog persists in annoying the other dogs, use a kennel lead in daycare to keep the dog close to you until the dog understands that the behavior is unacceptable. Marking. Always strive to uphold indoor rules. Marking is going to be one of the toughest male actions to stop in daycare. When you catch a male marking, correct the behavior. When a dog marks outside, let him know that that's okay. Aggression. Why are dogs aggressive? A dog may have become overly aggressive because of past experiences. It could have had a traumatic encounter with another dog, or it may not have socialized with other dogs as a puppy. An owner's behavior may have also influenced a symptom of the condition. For example, if an owner shows sympathy for a weaker dog by punishing the dominant dog. Other reasons for aggression are fear, wanting to protect territory and social status, or even a painful medical condition. Aggression is a fairly easy thing to assess. It's more often that people assess non-aggressive behavior as aggressive. That said, there will be times when non-aggressive behavior, such as rough play, can also be misinterpreted by other dogs as aggressive as well, and essentially escalate into aggression. There are two general types of aggression. There is fearful aggression and confident aggression. Fearful aggression comes from a dog not understanding or feeling comfortable in a situation. Usually, this implies an issue that can be solved or managed. On the other hand, confident aggression is scary. Although both types of dogs can do harm, the difference between fearful and confident aggression is that a fearful dog does not want to do harm, whereas a confident aggressor is typically more intent on doing harm with a lack of fear. A confidently aggressive dog is a danger to other dogs and humans, often with underdeveloped bite inhibition. We often see this behavior in dogs that are closest genetically to their ancestors, the wolves. For example, Akitas are often confident aggressors, as they are a dog breed that is one of the closest in genetic similarity to wolves. Such dogs, without proper socialization when young, can develop confident aggression tendencies and therefore be a risk to other dogs and even to people. Rough play. All the rough playing, barking in each other's faces, and mounting on each other are normal dog behaviors. In daycare, it's important that you control such behaviors that may upset the dogs involved, or even the onlooking referee type dogs who tend to be bossy. Just ask yourself, would you let a dog do those things in your home? If your answer is no, then you should stop the behavior and separate the dogs for a cool down period or redirect. Reporting unacceptable behavior. Let managers know right away if any dogs exhibit any of these bad behaviors. Stalking, for example, especially poses a very high risk to toy breeds. Imagine if the stalker accidentally crossed paths with a toy breed in holding. That dog's life could be at risk. So make sure holding areas are clear of toy breeds before allowing any dog out of daycare. Identify your resources. Upon entering daycare, make sure you have everything you need to get the job done, that everything is fully stocked, and have a discussion with the handler you are relieving about the dogs in your care. Controlling your gates. When not moving dogs, a game you can play is opening the gate and standing in front of it so no dog goes through, and stopping every dog who tries. Once you set a precedent, you can leave the gate open for a period of time without the group attempting to rush the gate. This kind of conditioning helps to ease the chaos during moments when gate excitement begins to escalate. Additionally, when there is a need to open the gate, you can go to the gate and refuse to open it until there is adequate space between you and the group of dogs. You can establish that space by correcting dogs who are too close and by walking into the dogs who are crowding the gate space until they move back. Once you open the gate, close it again if any dog gets too close, and repeat the process of forcing them away from the gate until they learn that rushing the gate causes you to close it and correct the crowding behavior. Do not allow your pack to suffocate dogs entering into daycare, and if possible, don't force nervous dogs to join daycare alone. Establish a small pack outside of the gate first, and make sure there is an adequate space around the gate once they are brought into the larger pack. Anything you can do to reduce how overwhelmed the dog is will be helpful in making sure the dog is enjoying its experience in daycare. Successful transitions. Moving a pack of dogs around causes inevitable excitement. When you're getting ready to move a pack of dogs from one area to another, into or out of boarding, daycare, or outside, it's vitally important that you follow protocol. Dogs in the pack will learn that they will only be allowed to leave a room by name and only if they're acting appropriately. It's very important that the entire handler team is consistent with transitions in this way. Dogs should only be allowed out of the playroom one by one. Allowing a group to trample into a space will often lead to chaos, undetected incidents, and loss of pack control. If a specific dog is to go home, call the dog by its name and tap it gently on the head, allowing the dog to go under your legs and through the gate. When possible, make sure that dog is behaving before allowing it to go through to avoid inadvertent praise. When moving a group, move dogs in a strategic order. Start with the dogs that you know you can trust to behave and keep quiet. One by one, call your most trustworthy dogs to go under your legs, calling them by name and giving them a gentle tap on the forehead or back. Move through your dogs, allowing only those who have calmed down thoroughly and ending with the watchdogs. If you're going outside, your barkers should be last out and on leash if needed. The order should be as followed. First, natural dogs, then unenthused dogs, then grumps, then drained dogs, then scaredy dogs, then referees, then guards, then nervy dogs, then watchdogs, and last, the loudmouths. Remember to always move dogs one by name, and gentle touch. When possible, separate watchdogs and loud dogs and ask for assistance taking those dogs out individually, in smaller groups, and/or on leash. If you feel that you have established control over your watchdogs, you may take them with you but read their signals to make sure the additional chaos is not putting them over the edge. Identifying daycare dogs by type. When you enter into a daycare room, it is important to identify the types of dogs you have in your playroom. By doing so, you will be able to prioritize the use of your energy by focusing on the more challenging dogs and even use the helpful dogs to your advantage. Developing priorities allows you to gain control of your room more quickly and give all dogs the attention and love they deserve. The naturals. Here's a description of natural daycare dogs. The naturals are daycare dogs who are well-adjusted and always seem to know how to communicate, both with humans and with other dogs. They play appropriately, love daycare, and know when to back down. These dogs are typically trained, obedient, confident, and have been socialized properly from a very young age, both with other dogs and with humans. How to handle natural daycare dogs. Once you identify naturals and feel that you can trust them, you can easily take your undivided attention off these dogs and trust that they will behave well on their own accord. These dogs also tend to be more tolerant with nervy and chaotic dogs, and their bite inhibition is well developed. It's not until you've handled your more difficult dogs that natural dogs should get your time and attention. Transitional protocol for natural daycare dogs. Natural dogs are a pleasure to have in daycare, and when moving dogs one by one, your naturals will be the first to go through. They are well behaved and have earned the right to go first because they are more trusted than their more challenging counterparts. The referees. The referee is one of the more misunderstood dogs in daycare. These dogs are often seen intervening when other dogs are playing or fighting. They often circle around, barking at and trying to control situations in daycare. Referees are happier when they have a job to do and are often herding type dogs. Referees can often be a little bit more on the nervous side, and daycare can be a little stressful for these dogs when it is chaotic. A referee will be one of the first to join a dogfight and will need to be watched and guided. How to handle referees. What's really cool about a referee is that you can use their skills to make your job easier. When these dogs alert you to play that is too rough, by displaying controlling behavior, you can use them as your eyes and ears to identify possible problems brewing in daycare. Praising referees when they identify a rough situation and redirecting them to playing once you take control of the situation can give these dogs purpose and joy in daycare, where they might not have otherwise found it. However, beware, your praise should be for identifying potential issues, not for joining issues or becoming too overbearing. It's important that they know that it's okay to identify an issue, but it's not okay to intercede because that's your job. Transitional protocol for referees. Depending on your trust level with referees, you can allow such dogs through a transition in the middle of the pack, as they will be effective in helping to maintain order in transition and will be in place to do that job as well once you allow more challenging dogs through. During the time when you're facilitating a transition, you will have a brief time when you cannot be in two places, so you will be able to use referees to help maintain order. The process of letting dogs through one by one also helps you to maintain that order as the transition transpires. The watchdogs. Description of watchdogs. Watchdogs are dogs who have been identified as problematic in daycare. Either they have been in fights in the past or have tendencies to get in the middle of things. Dogs that are known problem dogs should be identified at check-in and marked for all handlers with a red paper collar. These dogs often lack adequate bite inhibition and require more attention than other dogs in daycare because of it. They are highly likely to escalate to incident status once playing becomes too physical. These dogs are much more likely to push your limits as a handler to see what they can get away with. How to handle watchdogs. It is vitally important that you identify watchdogs immediately. As soon as you enter the daycare room, find these dogs and pay them a visit. Talk to them by name and let them know that they are not hidden with numbers. During daycare, the majority of your time will be observing and correcting watchdogs. You will need to be consistent, constantly disrupting inappropriate behavior, issuing timeouts, and identifying any situation involving watchdogs that could escalate. Keep in mind, the way your handler team handles watchdogs is vitally important to the success or failure of that dog as a customer in daycare. Because of this, it's important that the handling instructions for these types of dogs is completely consistent across our entire handler team. You will also need to put these dogs up during especially busy times, such as during busy rushes, mealtime, or when transitioning a pack outside or into the boarding rooms. Watchdogs, while in the boarding rooms, should always be crated if allowed, and for a solo boarding person, they should never be left alone in the boarding room at night when going up front to check out a customer. The dog should either be in a crate or left in holding until the transaction is finished. Transitional protocol for watchdogs. Watchdogs typically will be taken outside without the pack by a senior level handler in a much smaller group or even alone. Remember, we want to avoid putting watchdogs in stressful situations, and when it's time for the pack to be on the move, The excitement of the group will rise naturally. Higher excitement means a higher probability that an incident may occur. The nervy dogs. Description of nervy dogs. Oh, the wild and nervy daycare dogs. They're always having an absolute blast in daycare. They tend to be full of energy and are ready to get it all out. These dogs will run into daycare and get everyone all worked up. They barrel through the pack, splash and spill the water bowls, and play with all-out enthusiasm. How to handle those nervy dogs. Now, these are awesome dogs. They're absolutely made for daycare, but they're often in danger of getting hurt because of their risk-taking, high-speed love for life. It's important to identify these dogs in your room and also to alert management of their tendencies so that the customer can be alerted of their higher probability of injury. Nervy dogs can be very frustrating to handle, and repetition and consistency will be key in setting precedents for all members of the handler team. Be sure to never yell at dogs, even when they really test your patience. Simply control, redirect, and repeat until the dog has learned to control overstimulation. Transitional protocol for nervy dogs. Nervy dogs get excited and fast. When you begin to transition a pack of dogs either outside or into or out of boarding, it is your nervy dogs that hype up the whole group. Make sure they sit and wait until last. It is important that you do not let the nervy dogs through until they have settled down. If the dog moves into the new environment full speed, track the dog down and go back to square one by placing the dog in holding. If our entire staff is consistent in this way, the dog will learn to what degree excited behavior is okay. The barkers. Description of the barkers. Barkers just love to hear their own voices. They will announce everything and express all emotions with noise. Barking is natural for dogs, but it can be frustrating when it's multiple dogs in a pack, not only for the other dogs, but for handlers as well. Group barking in a pack environment in reality means your room is less controlled than it should be. How to handle barkers. Barking in daycare should be controlled in individual dogs to set precedents for the group. But when a group starts barking in unison, quickly address the most energetic barkers one by one and by name. This will help you to dissipate a group reaction. Additionally, disallowing dogs to congregate around gates as a rule, even when there is no chaos, and weaving in and out of a group addressing each dog's behavior individually will help in keeping your room quiet as well. Do not yell at the dog, as they will only see that as you barking back. Transitional protocol for barkers. If you can, wait to let any dog out of the space you are in until they're fully settled down. Barkers, when outside, should either go out on leash if they're completely unreliable, or should be placed in the outdoor holding area as soon as they bark outside, losing their outdoor privileges for that outing. It is very important that there is as little noise as possible in the outdoor yard because being conscientious of our neighbors is the right thing to do. The unenthused dogs. Description of unenthused dogs. Unenthused dogs just really don't care about other dogs. They prefer human attention, and they think that being a daycare is like, oh, so lame. They'd rather be lying on a cozy couch. These dogs tend to be older or simply introverts by nature and can sometimes be fairly intolerant to the bad-mannered dogs who don't know when to leave them alone. They may also be interested in only certain people. How to handle unenthused dogs. It's easy to give all your attention to dogs who give it to you, but the unenthused dogs, once the playroom is under control, really need the most positive attention and encouragement. It's no surprise that dogs will love you unconditionally, but with the unenthused, they won't care much about you unless you give them the same love in return. Simply showing these dogs that they are important and loved, as well as trying to get them a little excited without exciting the other dogs, can go a long way. Another option for these dogs is to let the front desk know that they are not really enjoying daycare and see if they would be a better fit up front with the senior dogs. When this isn't possible, it's important to work extra hard to make sure the dog enjoys its time in daycare. The grumpy dogs. Description of grumpy dogs. Grumpy dogs just don't want to be in daycare. They're often older dogs who probably should not be in a large group. Whenever possible, get these dogs extra breaks or try to make their case for front desk status. These dogs are likely to snap at younger, more rambunctious dogs and can often be helpful at teaching younger dogs to be more respectful. How to handle grumpy dogs. Make sure that younger, more rambunctious dogs leave grumpy dogs alone. Be sure you do not correct growling but do not praise it either. Growling is an important signal from one dog to another that it wants to be left alone. Remember, correcting growling can lead to a dog foregoing valid communication in lieu of biting without warning. Rather, reinforce the communication for the agitated dog by correcting the dog who is bothering the grumpy dog. Break eye contact by walking in between the dogs and redirect both dogs into other activities. Never use sweet tones of voice when redirecting a dog. Stay firm but friendly and use higher, more friendly tones only when the dogs have moved on to a more appropriate behavior. Like unenthused dogs, grumpy dogs will not default to seeking attention, so make sure you spend some extra time petting their bellies and being kind to them once your pack is under control and behaving as they should. Transitional protocol for grumpy dogs. Grumpy dogs most likely won't appreciate storming of the gates and will default to remaining towards the back of the pack. Wait until the chaos has dissipated a bit before calling grumps to go through. Reassuring or friendly tones of voice are often mistaken for praise. Always be aware of what your tone of voice is accomplishing. The scaredy dogs. Description of scaredy dogs. Scared dogs are often among the most dangerous dogs, especially if they are large, powerful, and scared. Timid nature or fear mixed with powerful jaws could be a recipe for disaster. Fearful dogs are likely to snap as a result of fear, not confident aggression. How to handle scaredy dogs. Fearful dogs are a lot of work at first, but well worth it. They absolutely can change. Of course, confidently aggressive or excessive fear aggressive dogs never make it past their evaluation day, but moderately frightened dogs need only time and compassion. Daycare can be a wonderful tool for helping dogs get past fear if those dogs are handled with care from the first moment. Fearful dogs are prone to trauma. They often had bad experiences in the past that were likely traumatic, or they were handled with coddling or overreacting by an owner. It's very important that when a dog is fearful, we 1. Do not put them in a situation they are not ready for, and 2. Do not scoop them up and coddle them when they react fearfully. We often see fearful dogs screaming in fear. This is the worst scenario because doing this signifies themselves as weak, like prey, and other dogs will react negatively by either attacking or crowding the fearful dog. It's important to protect the fearful dog not by coddling, but by controlling the dogs around it. Lastly, when handling a scared dog, make sure when the pack is behaving and completely under control that you give attention of the fearful dog only when it ventures out of hiding. Praise lavishly when a fearful dog plays with other dogs or ventures out of its comfort zone. Anything you can do to make the dog feel good is great, but do not sweet talk the dog while it is hiding because your sweet tone of voice can be mistaken for praise of the fearful behavior. Transitional protocol for scaredy dogs. What's more important than any other factor with fearful dogs is that they transition into and out of daycare slowly, with complete pack control and only when they're ready. This must be the case every single time the dog goes through a transition, even during the busy rush, and even if it means putting the dog in a separate holding area with a few friendly dogs until things settle down. Never rush a fearful dog or drag it into daycare. The guards. Description of guards. Guards are dogs who are possessive. They can be possessive of toys, certain dogs, or even of handlers. They probably had to fight for resources at some point in their lives and often were runts of litters. Guards often push their way in when you're trying to pet another dog and make it clear that they want all the attention. How to handle guards. Resource guarding is a dangerous trait in dogs that must be remedied with complete handler-team consistency. When a dog is guarding resources, remove the item in question from the dog's possession. When you keep moving in daycare, human resource guarding is often remedied. When you stop moving, you will notice certain dogs will cling to your legs and block off other dogs. There are varying levels of resource guarding problems, and as humans, we often see leaning into our legs or begging for attention as quite gratifying. However, this is not an acceptable behavior in a daycare setting. When a dog is guarding you or begging for attention, do not give in. Keep moving and only pet the guarder when you approach it directly. Additionally, when you know you're dealing with a resource guarder, make a point to intentionally give the dog attention only when it's not asking for it. This helps the dog learning that by not guarding, there is reward. It takes a bit of time for a dog to state its claim on you. So keeping moving in daycare will virtually remove the possibility of human resource guarding to escalate into an incident of any kind. When playing with toys, Be cautious of dogs that become aggressive. If a dog shows signs of resource guarding, such as growling when another dog tries to take the toy, immediately remove the toy from that dog's possession and place that dog in timeout. Allowing such behavior to persist can cause dog fights. It is important that you show resource guarders that it is bad to guard toys and praise when that dog shares. Transitional protocol for guards. Absent any other behavioral issues, it's best to get guards through transitions early on in the process. Because you are confined to a gate or doorway during a transition, that momentary idleness gives the guard an opportunity to claim you. Assure that the dog and all dogs do not rush the gate, and let the guard through before it has a chance to state a claim on you amidst the chaos of a transition. Toy breed safety. Toy breeds have their own area. They're always to be visited for a few minutes after each of your shifts. For the safety of toy breeds, they are never, ever to cross paths with any other dogs due to the risk of injury or death. This is very serious and not to be taken lightly. Never, in boarding, daycare, grooming, front desk, the holding areas, in the yard, anywhere, should toy breeds be in contact with any other dog. Dogs with any kind of prey drive towards toy breeds, through fencing or otherwise, must fail daycare immediately in order to keep the toy breeds completely safe. Daycare techniques. Pay attention. In daycare, always be calm and don't focus on just one thing. Rather, constantly scan the room. Your eyes should bounce from dog to dog continually, picking up on problematic signs from every situation. Keep your head up to get a wide-angle view at the entire situation in your entire room. Crowding. Controlling a pack of dogs is easiest when you keep them moving. When the dogs are out of control, weave through them and talk to each dog. Even touching a dog just to make sure they know you are paying attention can be effective. Pay the most attention to your most problematic dogs. Watch these dogs and keep close to them. Preventing dogs from escaping into holding areas and properly securing gates. You will need to block the gate when you're letting dogs out. Learn how to keep the dogs from getting through your blockade. It is hard when you first start, but you have to use your knee to block at the gate, and it's effective to let the dog you want to go under your legs or beside your legs. Figure out what works for you. Dogs know that when you tap them on the neck and or call their name, that you're allowing them to go into holding. Avoiding trauma, reading dog signals. When a dog is nervous or has been through a scary situation, such as a fight, do not protect or coddle the dog. You want to teach the dog that it can handle the aftermath on its own, but you also need to prevent a similar situation from happening again. A short time out for a dog who was attacked, no more than 3 to 5 minutes, may be effective. Use your judgment. Keep an eye on the dog to see if it is still nervous. Reassure the dog by remaining calm and talking to him as if everything is normal. Do not sweet-talk a dog who is acting nervous because your tone of voice is just praising the weak behavior. Making dog daycare fun. Dog daycare is hard work, but believe it or not, if your room is under control, you can have a little fun with the dogs too. You can play games with them, encourage them, and even get the toys out when they are well behaved. As a handler, you make the biggest differences in the happiness of the dogs in your care. You can help a scared dog have fun, a watchdog learn some manners, and an old dog find its spunk again. With work and consistency, you can make daycare fun and comfortable for the dogs and make the owners happy at the same time. One of the most desirable factors for pet owners bringing dogs to this business is that our handlers not only monitor dogs, but they also interact with them. As a handler, you will be expected to throw balls, play games, and generally interact and show affection to all of the dogs in daycare. Think about what you would want your own dog to experience at a dog daycare. You're always on camera, so make sure the owners watching see you and the dogs enjoying your time together so that they can have some additional peace of mind. Balancing fun and safety. First and foremost, before all the fun and games, the safety and discipline of the dogs is of the greatest importance. Once you're able to identify your dog types and manage their issues for the safety of all dogs and yourself, you can begin to incorporate fun and affection in your playroom. Being able to facilitate a fun and safe playroom is challenging, but is a sign of success for a dog daycare handler. New dog evaluations. When you're leading an evaluation, evaluations must be taken slowly. You need to make sure you do not ever throw a dog into a pack. Follow these steps. When you evaluate a dog, it's a 2-person job, 1 person in daycare and one in holding. Keep the new dog in the holding area alone first. You want the dog to be able to observe the other dogs in play before entering. Keep in mind the other dogs will be very interested in the new dog at first. Give them time to lose interest. The first dog that the evaluation dog should meet ought to be a level-headed, calm dog. You want to introduce one well-behaved same-sex dog, one well-behaved opposite-sex dog, and if the dog is large, you want to introduce a smaller dog, carefully, watching for signs of prey drive. Once the dog is doing well with about 3 to 4 calm dogs, you want to start introducing dogs who are more rambunctious. The idea is to bring in a variety of personality types, wild dogs, alpha dogs, bossy dogs, and so on, and see how the new dog reacts. Don't continue to put new dogs into their space unless the evaluation dog is handling it well. Once you've created a small pack of 8 to 10 dogs in the holding area with the new dog, observe. Once you see that the dog is doing well, you make the judgment of when to let this small pack into the larger pack. If the dog is nervous still, wait longer. The longer you wait, the harder it will be for dogs in the big group to recognize which dog is the new dog. This will make it easier for the evaluation dog to fit in without trauma. It is how to make an evaluation successful. Keep an eye on the dog all day. Do not coddle, but interact with the dog with an even and confident tone of voice. Help the dog get excited about the new experience by encouraging play. When you are assigned to handle an evaluation dog, when you are working in daycare, while an evaluation is going on the other side of the fence, your job is to keep daycare moving as usual while giving the person evaluating the dogs what he or she requests for the evaluation. When the evaluator decides that the dog is ready to enter daycare, it will then become your job to watch the dog and let the front desk know how the evaluation is going. Call up front with updates. When the dog is going into the big group. Once the dog has been in daycare for a few minutes. Throughout the day, all notes will be stored on the computer and communicated to the owner at pickup, whenever there is a problem. When an evaluation is not going smoothly. When a dog is not doing well in the evaluation, if it is fear aggression or extreme fear, give the dog plenty of time to adjust in a separate area and observe daycare. Try taking the dogs outside because they adjust better outdoors. Usually dogs can get over this problem in time. If you observe a dog with signs of confident aggression, including snarling and snapping with confident posturing, do not risk other dogs. It's okay to suggest failing a dog or to call for a second handler's opinion. Make sure when you leave your daycare room to another handler that you inform him or her of which dogs are being evaluated that day. Basic daycare procedures. Be tidy. Do not leave tissues and other garbage lying around on the tables where the dogs can get to it. Keep your supply area tidy and all supplies put away. You can bring drinks into daycare as long as they have a lid and are not glass. Keep them where dogs cannot get a hold of them. Do not, under any circumstances, bring food of any kind into daycare. Dogs are not allowed treats in daycare. Some dogs are allergic. Dogs only get treats in the lobby in front of their owner and after you've asked if it's okay. When and how to give attention. You should always be petting dogs and walking around with them. Don't ignore them unless they do something bad, like jumping. Work on their tricks. Make sure you look at the dogs and pay attention to each one. Tone of voice. Dogs react to different tones of voice, not necessarily to specific words. Dogs associate sweet, high tone of voice with praise. Do not use this tone of voice when they behave badly. Rather, use it when they do what you ask. Use a calm, friendly, low tone of voice to encourage dogs. Use a firm, raised tone of voice for discipline. Reserve yelling for dire situations. Picking dogs up. Picking up dogs has several risks associated with it. 1. It incites prey drive. Dogs are likely to jump up and bite the dog you pick up instinctively. 2. It makes other dogs jealous and agitated. 3. Should you drop a dog from your arms, there is a high likelihood that the dog will get injured. So please do not pick up dogs unless it's an emergency. How to discipline appropriately. Never yell or scream at or hit a dog. Use the words that dogs know, such as no. Address dogs directly. They know when something is wrong and you need to follow them around and make sure they know you're paying attention. Use a firm, raised tone of voice. Dogs react well to different tones. Reserve yelling for dire situations. Tone of voice is important. Potty training. If you see a dog relieving themselves inside, correct it and take outside immediately if possible. Watch for signals that the dogs need to go outside and check the time for their next break. Make sure you don't say nothing. By doing so, you show acceptance. We have an outside yard for a reason. We want to help owners reinforce good behavior such as not relieving themselves indoors. If we can help the cause, we should. But like many things, it takes consistency throughout our team. Praise lavishly when a dog goes potty outside. Eventually, all dogs will learn the rules and will only go outside. Uphold household rules. One of your responsibilities as a handler is to uphold house rules as best as possible. This includes potty training, barking outside, jumping, and correcting any other behavior that owners would generally not allow at home. When a dog is agitated or tired, pay attention to the signals dogs are giving you. If the dog is trying to lie down and gets irritated when a dog bumps them, the dog needs a break. Tell a manager or use a timeout. When a dog is so tired and won't settle down, it could become aggressive, when normally it is happy. This dog needs breaks. This often happens to boarding dogs and dogs who attend daycare 3 days per week or more. When a dog is becoming a problem in daycare, address the problems that the dog is having. Communicate to a manager so she can put a note on the employee dashboard so that all employees know to stay firm with the dog. Ideally, we want to all work with the dog and be consistent with behavior modification. We do not want to lose the dog as a customer if it is able to be saved and controlled. Mandatory breaks for certain dogs. Mandatory breaks are for dogs who are getting too tired in daycare and becoming problematic. Sometimes owners may also request extra breaks. Dogs who are boarding or attending daycare too much may receive extra breaks as well. Properly handling puppies. Puppies need to be treated like adult dogs. Do not coddle puppies, but do not let big dogs bully them. Puppies will usually accept any new situation. You want to avoid trauma, but when a puppy goes through a scary experience, as long as there's no danger, keep it in daycare and reassure it. Do not overprotect puppies and do not pick them up, even if they are really cute. Properly handling elderly dogs. Elderly dogs should get siestas and naps whenever possible. If younger dogs bother old dogs, stop this before it becomes a fight. Older dogs may do better with a smaller, more calm daycare group. Sometimes older dogs, if well behaved, can hang out up front. When there's a fight, safety first. Make sure you do whatever you can to stop a fight without getting yourself hurt, but follow the protocol below to handle it swiftly and properly. First of all, call for help on the headset immediately. During a fight is the only time in daycare that you can ever yell. Raise your voice, stomp, or do whatever you need to do to stop the fight. Knee the dogs who are fighting if absolutely necessary. Prevent the other dogs from joining in by saying no and blocking them. Stay calm and avoid harming or getting physical with the dogs if you can distract them instead. Your safety comes first. Do not get your hands near dogs' teeth. Do not pull dogs apart when they're latched on. This will only cause the wounds to rip further and potentially cause more damage than would have otherwise occurred if you had not intervened. Instead, lift the dog's back legs up off the ground and it will likely unlatch due to being unbalanced. Get the hostile dogs out of daycare and separate it ASAP. Managers, supervisors, and other employees can check the dogs for wounds and assess their care. Failure to report. If there's a small scuffle that you can handle right away, still tell a manager so if a wound shows up later, it won't look like you were negligent in breaking up an incident. If you hear a dog yelp and you didn't see what happened, inform the manager as well. You can't see everything, but you can communicate the best you possibly can. Even if you do not find injuries, the incident must still be reported. Reporting incidents will allow supervisors to speak to the owners about what has happened as a way to forewarn of potential future injuries and for our team to keep track of any patterns that certain dogs might be involved in. The worst possible scenario is that an owner finds an injury on their dog immediately after daycare or even days later, possibly infected. If a manager reviews the camera and determines that you did not report the incident or were blatantly not following daycare protocol, the business will be forced to pay for your mistakes, and there will be consequences such as lost shifts as well. Had you communicated rather than hiding incidents, the result will be guidance, understanding, and possibly retraining. It's unsafe to have a handler in daycare if he or she is not paying attention or does not take the job seriously. If you need a break or are feeling burned out, let the manager know. honest communication is the best policy. Cleaning while working in daycare. When a dog poops in daycare. In daycare, when a dog poops, take a mud mitt, paper towels, and disinfectant to the site of the accident. Keep an eye on it and tell the dogs to leave it so it doesn't get eaten. Clean it up with the mud mitt, leave the mud mitt open on the floor, spray the spot with disinfectant, wipe with the paper towels, as few as is possible, and put the dirty paper towel in the mud mitt as well. Tie off the mud mitt. Return the supplies to the supply area in daycare. Throw the mud mitt away in the garbage can. Do not ever clean up poop with a mop. When a dog pees in daycare. Clean up pee with a mop. You may need to clean it twice if there's a lot. Keep your mop water clean. It should be changed out about once an hour. Call for someone outside of daycare to change out the water for you, rather than leaving the dogs alone. When a dog vomits in daycare. The procedure for cleaning up vomit is the same as cleaning poop, but the difference is you need to call for help and let a manager know that a dog vomited and check the camera if you didn't see it. The reason you will need help is because vomit can sometimes contain food that dogs want to eat, which could start a fight over food aggression. Note the appearance of the vomit and take a photo if needed. If there is any pink tint or blood, especially. It's important that we identify and remove the sick dog as soon as possible. So look closely for any dog acting unusual. Excessive slobbering or lethargy could be a sign of recent vomiting. If the dog vomited up its food, it may need extra breaks after meals to allow meals to settle, in which case a note would be added to its file. Cleaning bowls. Every time a bowl gets slobbery or close to gone, it needs to be replaced with a new bowl and cleaned with Dawn by whoever is not working in daycare. Don't leave the dogs alone. Call for someone to change out your bowl. When changing the water, get a new bowl. Changing bowls regularly slows the spread of certain viruses such as Bordetella, also known as kennel cough. Change bowls out hourly or every time mop water is changed. Taking dogs outside. Barking outside. Barking is never allowed outside. If a dog barks, correct the behavior and put it in holding immediately. Call for a handler to put the dog inside until you're finished outside. During the day, ask for assistance with known barkers. Dogs are not allowed outside before 8 a.m., except for a small group of boarding dogs when they wake up. Dogs are not to be taken outside after 8 p.m. Take up water 1 hour before the dog's last outdoor break, before nap time or bedtime. Safety outside. Outdoor safety is of the utmost importance. We take many precautions to make sure dogs do not escape outside. Follow protocol very carefully to ensure the safety of the dogs in our care. Never open the gate when dogs are outside. Never bring dogs outside without making sure the gate is fully closed and the fence has not been compromised, such as collapsed in the wind. Do not open the door without thinking and let the dogs out blindly. Do not let the dog eat anything that blows into or is thrown into the yard. Do not let the dogs eat poop. Make sure the steps and grounds aren't icy. Make sure you hold onto the handrail when going up and down outdoor stairs with a group of dogs. Wear appropriate clothing outside to avoid getting sick. Bring hat, gloves, heavy coat when needed. Be prepared for rain. Group size outside. We typically take one daycare area outside as a group each hour or two. When a daycare group is too large, the person not in daycare should help take the dogs out in smaller groups. The smaller the group, the better. Length of time outside. Dogs should not be outside for more than 10 minutes. Give dogs enough time to relieve themselves and for you to clean up after them completely. Once dogs start playing, it's time for them to go inside. When you're taking dogs inside, split them in the holding area to avoid fights if possible while you're working to round up the rest. Another employee should always assist you with outdoor breaks as well. Allowable outdoor behavior. Dogs are allowed to go to the bathroom and do a little sunbathing if there's time when outside. Going outside is for dogs to do their business. Do not let them get rowdy, bark, or play too much. Establish consistency. The outside yard as a place to do their business, not as a playground. Bringing dogs back inside appropriately. When you let a group of dogs into the large daycare area, it needs to be methodical. Do not just open the gate and let them flood in. This creates total chaos. The proper way to let dogs into the daycare room, like during any transition, is by name and one at a time. Cleaning up outside. Cleaning poop needs to be done every time that the dogs are taken out. Poop should never be left outside. Never just melt poop into the turf with the hose, and never leave poop outside for others to take care of. Get it all cleaned up before you go in. Keep the lid on the garbage can. Spray off the poop scooper after each trip outside. Spray off the yard in places where poop could not be fully removed to avoid dogs stepping in it. You also don't want it to dry up. It's a lot harder to clean that way. When you are assigned to nap time. Why do we have nap time? Daycare is fun for dogs, but it is also very stimulating for them. Most dogs arrive quite early in the morning, and they need to be given the opportunity to relax and regenerate during the middle of a long day. When no nap time is provided, the group of dogs we work with tends to become irritable, and we see a lot more fighting. When you are working in nap time, it's a chance for you and the dogs to relax. If you're not laying back, relaxing, and watching TV, the dogs will not relax either. Dogs will sense if you are not relaxed and will give you a hard time. You need to be very calm but firm, friendly, and strict. Do not ever yell at dogs, but make sure they know you are the boss and that you will not tolerate misbehaving. Always scan the room and keep a close eye on what dogs are doing. Pay attention to noises, not limited to chewing on furniture. Feel free to cuddle with dogs. Setting up nap and boarding rooms properly. It's important that the nap rooms are cozy for the dogs, but not hazardous for the dogs. As a handler, setting up rooms typically will be done for you. Make sure there is no food left over for meals in or around the crates in the nap room to avoid fights and allergic reactions. Crates may have blankets, but once a nap time attendant sees a dog put a blanket in their mouth, the proper protocol is to take the blanket out of the crate immediately and tell a manager that the dog should not be able to have blankets in the crate so we can add a note to their file. Some blankets on the floor is fine. However, make sure you have a clear path to the exit where you do not have to step on blankets. This is a severe tripping hazard. Putting dogs in the nap room properly. Toy breeds go into a secure area in the nap room first. Then, put all no-nap dogs in a separate area. Next, crated dogs go into holding and the runner will put them in crates. You will be provided a list. You will stay in daycare with a group of dogs while the senior handler or supervisor crates all of the crated dogs. When it is time to bring the rest of the dogs into the nap room, if you are the nap room attendant, you will go in first. Make sure if you are attending nap time that you have gone to the bathroom and are ready with everything you need to get nap time started. Do not leave the nap room while dogs are being put into the daycare room. This can be a very exciting time for dogs, and this is when fights happen, so you must be present. The person assisting you then becomes responsible for the dogs left in daycare and will put them in the nap room one by one. The key is to, between the two people, keep an eye on both groups of dogs as the transition happens. Never leave a large group of dogs unattended in daycare or the nap rooms. Half-day dogs or dogs going home during nap time are never to be put into the nap room. The goal is to have as few interruptions as possible so the dogs can sleep in peace. Supply for nap time. All of your supplies should be kept close to you and in your supply carton so that dogs cannot access it. Make sure you have the following: mud mitts, paper towels, remote, disinfectant, walkie-talkie with headset. Safety in nap time. Do not allow dogs to jump on crates. Do not allow dogs to chew furniture or blankets. If you bring a drink or book into the room, it must have a lid and be in the supply bin next to you. Do not bring glass into the nap room. Do not ever bring food into the nap room. Do not play with the dogs in nap time. Petting and cuddling only. Be kind, but strict. Do not let dogs play in nap time. If a dog will not settle down, you are allowed to remove dogs from nap time. You should be able to determine this within the first 15 minutes of nap time. Inform the other employees that you are removing a dog from nap time via your walkie-talkie. If a dog is upset in a crate, ask a manager or supervisor what you should do with the dog. Do not allow the dog to hurt itself. Do not crate a dog unless you ask a supervisor first. Some dogs are absolutely not to be crated. Call FIGHT on walkie-talkies if you need help. Always remove dogs involved in a fight immediately so a runner or supervisor can check them for injuries. If you have a sick dog in nap time, inform the supervisor and clear out the nap room immediately. Make sure the holding room door is closed before you let the dogs out. Figure out who is sick clean up, and resume nap time. Do not sleep during nap time. If anything is destroyed during your nap time, or you are unable to control your room, you will be required to go through further training before you can work shifts during naps. Controlling a nap room is much like controlling a playroom, except you have an early opportunity to identify dogs who are not willing to settle down and remove them. Also, keep in mind that customers watch nap time. They must see that the room is still and quiet. Discipline every dog through consistency so that the room remains in control at all times during the nap. Interruptions during nap time. Occasionally, there will be a dog who needs to be picked up from daycare during nap time, and the owner did not inform us that the dog should not have been in nap time. When you get a call for a dog in your nap room, your goal should be to not upset the nap, if at all possible. Stay very calm and move slowly. Slip the dog out and immediately turn to calm the group down again. Most dogs know what no and lie down means, so use your commands to your advantage. Go back to relaxing and don't let the dogs get too excited. Using dogs' names to get them to calm down can also be very helpful. Ending nap time properly. Someone will call you on the walkie-talkies when it's time to end your nap time. You will assist in getting your dogs outside immediately. Listen on the headset for nap time's end to be called. You want to be the one to wake the dogs up calmly and let them out slowly rather than another person surprising the dogs and walking in directly. Allow all uncrated dogs to leave the nap room before uncrating the crated dogs. Once the uncrated dogs are in the holding, uncrate the other dogs one by one. Let them into holding and help the other handlers get the remaining dogs outside. You will have assistants to help move dogs through. Do not put dogs outside unattended. Ending nap time is a two-person job. Follow normal transition protocol.